Hey. So, welcome to the Sole Trader live development stream. I am streaming to you live from sunny, well, not really sunny, overcast Winchester, UK. It's July, but the summer has kind of gone away, which is a bit of a shame. We were kind of hoping for a bit more of a summer here. We're hoping that it'll get a bit better later on. This is just a couple of things to say that I've done a few things that you might be interested in this week. We have a new gameplay trailer, which is awesome. I'm really excited about that, and we have new screenshots. So the new website as well. So lots has happened this week. It's a pretty simple website, but at least it kind of works. It does the job. So we've got a video there, which you can see. I won't try and stream a video whilst also running video, but because that's not going to work so well. But yeah, so we've got a bunch of videos there. Ooh, look, that's quite nice. Didn't know about that. And then also a few more screenshots of different things that are happening. I'm going to show you more about that later. But now we have the devlog basically built into the website, which is much, much better than it was. So that's cool. I probably should add some kind of Chrome similar to the UI to this website. I just haven't got around to that. I think it might be nice to have a planet background sort of here or something with some cool stuff going on. But maybe when I do the final release, then I'll do that. So the plan, I should give you a quick roadmap view for the game, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. So the plan at the moment is I've finished the user interface. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on there. Instead of showing you videos, I'm actually going to show you the live game, because that's always much more fun. So depending on how well the connection is working today, we may or may not get a decent connection, and you should be able to hopefully see this running pretty well. So we have the full game. We've got history generation all in again, and we've got a whole bunch of cool stuff that you can do. So for example, you can find a particular hotel, hang out, socialize with this lady who we know actually a little bit and is very wealthy. Ooh, good person to socialize with. Hey Alton, nice place. Well, it's called New Trash. It's not really a nice place, but we'll go with that. Unfortunately, she doesn't look like she's interested in chatting. Oh no, we've got a little interested information about her new job. Still don't know what she does for a living yet, but that will be the next thing to find out. Anyway, so we've got a cool new interface here. It's entirely brand new. I'm really pleased with it. Where's the port? There we go. Bunch of stuff that we can look at. The Stiff Sticky Note, love it, is the name of that particular ship. So yeah, so lots of cool new interface stuff that's gone in this week that I'm really pleased with. So yeah, there we go. Still haven't really balanced the city view yet. It's still a little bit annoying to use. The other thing that I've done, which I'll restart the game to show you, is the space mode, which I'm working on right now. So we have a menu option just to throw us into space, and as you can see there, we have a quite a nice view of the jump gates that I've just put back into the game. So as you can see at the moment, it's all a bit blurry. That is mostly because it's the dead of night. At the beginning it's like 1 in the morning, so it's all a bit misty and glowy. Now obviously there is no night at space, but in order to kind of give you a sense of time, what I've done is I've assumed that the sun is kind of behind you at this point, and then the sun kind of goes across to the front of you when it's no longer nighttime. So that's basically what I'm going for there. But you can see that that's working quite nicely, and then we can also head down to the planet as well. So let's see if I can find it. It's somewhere in this direction. I'm pretty sure there it is. There's Earth. As you can see, I'm probably running a little bit too slowly at the moment, which is kind of annoying, but hopefully you should be able to see that. There it is. It's all kind of working nicely. Don't worry about the frame rate. The frame rate is simply because I'm having to stream this at a reasonably slow frame rate. It's perfectly smooth on my computer. So yeah, cool. Okay, so that's a good start. What I've been working on today, as you can see, probably if I go back to the jump gate here, is collisions. So we have been managing interacting with different things. So if I just go up to here again, and if I press the interact button, you should see here that I've got a bunch of messages over in this corner here talking about interacting with this particular jump gate, which is what I'm trying to do. So we have the kind of collision area, we are interacting with it. Yeah, you can see that's all working. So that's kind of as far as I've got. And now you can also see that the it's kind of daytime-ish, I suppose, at the moment. That you can kind of look and see how that kind of feels and works. So that's all good. Okay, so that's the game. It's kind of coming together. I'm slowly adding new things into the game as we go. Some of this stuff isn't really recoding, it's just adding stuff that we had before. So today what I'd love to do is get to the point where I can actually interact with jump gates again so that I can actually fly somewhere else. So that's kind of what I'm doing right here. So I have a piece of code. Let's just make that a little bit smaller so that I can actually read it. I might just make that full screen. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here when I'm attempting to interact with anything and I hit a particular collider. So at the moment we only have one collider, that's the jump gate collider, and I'm planning on kind of going from there and actually doing the jump. So what I could do is just, I've got the collidable thing, so I know which entity ID I'm colliding with. What I might just do is try and find the identifiable. Now let's think about this. So a jump gate, if I look at the code that loads a jump gate, we load the identifiable gate. The thing we don't do anything with is the destination of that gate. So what we really want to do is say, okay, we have a particular jump gate and we want to go to the destination or find the destination of that gate. Now as you can see, I'll show you the input to this method. This is the load code method. The load gates method. This is the input to it. We've got a bunch of different gates. We've got the particular gate we're looking at. In this case, we're looking at the Earth-Mars gate, and the destination ID, which is Mars-Earth, which is the other gate that we're going to. So what I want to be able to do is save off. As you can see, I'm not referring to field 1 anywhere. I'm not referring to that destination ID column, this one here, anywhere. So I need to actually save that somewhere. And kind of what I'm thinking is have some sort of destination or teleporter entity component type so that we can kind of teleport people between different places. Now I'm mostly going to be using that for jump gates, but potentially it could be used for space anomalies, wormholes, things like that. I haven't quite figured that stuff out yet, but I think that's a good starting point. So if we say destination, if we actually save that off, so we'll hash up that string into a unique number, and then we'll basically not push identifier, but push teleporter. And what that will do is it will say that this this gate will teleport to this particular destination, if that makes sense. Now that won't work because I don't have this idea of push teleporter, so I now need to write a new entity component for that. So let's see how I might want to do that. I think I'll probably just use the spatial one as a base. So if I do teleporter.cpp, and then I just need to replace all instances in this file with teleporter. And the other thing I need to do is do the same for the lowercase version. And now I've got a teleporter. Great. The only thing I need to do is Unity. I need to actually include the teleporter entity. The other thing I need to do is create the data structure for it. So let's have a struct teleporter. This is going to be a very simple entity component. It's going to have an entity ID, and it's also going to have a destination hash, I think. Now what I could do is, instead of storing the destination hash, I could just store the destination entity ID, but that's going to be tricky. Yeah, for a couple of reasons. The main one is that when we load these gates, we don't actually have a full list yet of all of the different entities. And so we would ideally want to look up the destination hash in the identifiable thing. This doesn't happen very often. I don't care enough. I'm just going to store the destination hash. We can look it up at runtime. Okay, not at load time. So that's fine. I'm happy with that. just make sure that my messaging is working. Should be. Hopefully that will just pop up and we will all see it working. Yes, fantastic. Okay, so if you have any questions, by the way, I should say, please do fire away. I'm very open to questions, that kind of thing. So yeah, please do ask and I will answer. Okay, so we have a teleporter. Now that should probably compile now. Oh no, no. Oh yes, we're not storing those teleporters yet. I don't think I need a huge number of teleporters. I think we can probably get away with, how many in the game? How many gates did I have? 32 is fine. 32 pointers, it's not a big deal. No matching function for call to push a teleporter. No, that's because we need this to be the arena and then the gate ID. And we want to say teleporter. I haven't got that right at all. So we save the teleporter and then we actually say the destination hash. And actually I can just do it here. So I don't have to do that. Okay, it's kind of nice and neat. And that is obviously arena, not Orion. Okay, so now we have this teleporter thing. Now when I head to the game, the starting point is I'm going to say teleporter equals teleporter raw. So I'm basically going to see whether or not I've got one to start with. So this just needs the state, and it will need the collidable entity ID. Right. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm looking to see whether or not we have a teleporter at all. Now at the moment we don't have any other type, so I'm going to just add a quick else invalid code path there. So we have to have a teleporter, but we don't always need one. Let's just say this. Yeah, I'll just put this in a else. Nope, there. Okay. Yeah, so basically at the moment we only have jump gates that we can interact with, therefore we will always find a teleporter. Right, so then what we can just say is identifiable find ID, no, find ID. How do I do identifiables? Identifiable entity ID from key. So these gates are, I spelled that wrong, ident, that's right. Okay, so these destination hashes that we have are quite useful because they are just the names, the name of the thing, and that means that I can find, in fact I can just do find entity ID from key. Perfect. So you enter for destination ID. Right, so what I've done here is I've given a destination ID. I've found whatever the entity ID is of the destination, and then as a basic starting point I'm going to put the whatever sim I've got, I'm literally going to dump its position into there. Now this is interesting. I'm not sure I want to do it like this because the relative position, okay, so the way I'm doing sim entities is that I've converted everything to floating point space in order to be able to interact with it and do all the physics. Now the problem with this is that when I move this thing, I'm going to move it a long way away, like, you know, millions of kilometers potentially, which means that we can't use the relative IDs anymore. It is not going to work. So basically, I want to say, I want to move this somewhere else. I want to basically maybe do all of this stuff later on. So maybe what I actually want to do is set up a message. So maybe the thing to do would be, which I kind of want to do anyway, actually. I want to basically say, do we have a message? Yeah, there we go. Message, jump to destination. Yeah, there we go. Teleport. Teleport entity to destination. Right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, I'm going to set up a message. A message is just like I have a message queue, which means I can do things later on in the frame. So this is the message, and then I'm going to say message ship ID, or it's just actually entity ID equals the sim entity ID, and then the message destination ID equals this. Fine. Okay, that's better. Okay, I'm happy enough with that. Really, really happy with that. Cool. Okay. So the next thing to do is to yes, compile that, see if it works. Right, unknown type, message, teleport entity to destination. That's true because we don't have one. So we need to make one. So we've got a uint32 entity ID, uint32 destination ID. Now I suppose I could look up the position, put the space position into the entity. No, I'm not going to do that. That's fine. The other thing I need to do is actually add this to my entity types, entity to destination. So it's just setting up the message. Right, no matching thing. Find entity ID from key. I've missed something. Oh, it needs the state. That's fine. I can pass in the state. Oops. Ah, vim fail. Okay. That compiled. Right, so now in theory, what should happen is when we attempt to interact, we should get an assertion error. Let's see if this is the case. Let's pull the game up here. Okay, so it's all working fine, but as soon as I hit E, it doesn't do anything. Why not? It should have done something. We should have had a teleporter at the very least. Right, so let's go back up and interact. Interact. There we go. Right, so I'm guessing that the teleporter is coming back as nil. No, there's something there. So we're adding the message. Ooh, I wonder if we've already processed the messages. We pushed the message onto the pump. I wonder, is it too late? Yes, it is. Huh, we processed all the messages. That's not what I was expecting. We kind of want to do the simulation region. Yeah, we kind of want to do the simulation region stuff after. The problem is that we processed all the messages and therefore we're missing the frame, which is really annoying. So I don't see any reason why we can't process these messages after we've done the simulation region. I can't see any reason why we can't do that. Where is this called? Right here. So after the AI has been processed, update and render GUI happens. I kind of feel like we should process the messages here before we process the GUI. The messages, yeah, that should be fine. Okay, let's try this. Let us try this out. Let us see what happens. Okay, that worked. So run. Okay, interact. Fail. Oh yes, no break. That's good. Okay, process that. Now we should, that's passing the message in. Now we should get a failure here. Yes. This is because we haven't actually defined the message for this yet. So yeah, basically we need to do another message. So let's add this. So the message is teleport entity to destination. So we'll do that, and then that's fine. So then what I should be able to do is, well, I just need to move it. So I need to find the spatial, and this is basically exactly like this. Oh, must also put okay, so exactly the same way as we find the other one. That one there, we just take the entity ID, we need the spatial destination. So that's assuming the destination has a spatial. Yeah, that'll be fine. Find spatial state message destination ID, and then all we need to do is say spatial position equals destination spatial position. And I think because we've done all of the updates and everything, that will render it in the wrong place this frame. But I think that's okay. Let's see. We also need to do this, don't we? Change entity space location. Yeah. Okay. Old position, V2I, new position. Yeah, we're going to have to do that too. Yeah, so we can't just, this is just changing where the thing is. We can't just set the position like that. We're going to have to change the actual space location too. Yeah, this is a bit rubbish. I might combine this. And let me just have a look to see how this works. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to basically say spatial position, destination, and that's P, destination spatial position P, and this is entity ID. All this does is it changes where the thing is registered, and then I have to do that afterwards. Yeah, that's okay. Happy with that. Okay, I think those might need to be combined. I'll have a look at that in a minute. Okay, so in theory, we should have moved, and we didn't. Why have we got an invalid code path at this point? Oh, because I've got to do a break. Yeah, we need to do that. Okay, build the game again. Let's try that again. Okay, so now I think what we've done is we have teleported to Mars. Is this true? Yay! Woohoo! Victory dance! Victory dance! We have teleported to Mars. Fantastic. Now obviously there's no transition, which is a bit rubbish, but that's pretty cool, isn't it? So there's Mars. If I go back to the there it is. Oh, I think I just went through a few times. That's me going every frame. Awesome. Yeah, that could get confusing because we're interacting. We're kind of interacting with the thing a few too many times, but it's amazing that it works that fast. I guess when we add a transition, that won't actually happen. But yeah, it definitely works. and every frame basically we're moving quite a few hundred kilometers, or hundreds of millions of kilometers, I should say. I think it's around about 100 million kilometers, something like that. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's working. So now what I'd like to do is do some kind of transition, I think. Before I do that, I kind of want to have a look at this change entity space location thing. I'm not sure about the way that we're doing this. We've got a number of different calls here. Potentially, this change entity space location could do some of them ourselves. This just sets them up in the first place. Yeah, I need to think about this a little bit. I think I'm going to leave it as it is at the moment with a big to-do on it, just because I'm not quite sure how to proceed. I don't want to kind of screw this stuff up. Split that, I don't want that, I do want that change. I do want that change, don't want that change. Yes, I do want that change. And the teleporter, yeah, I want a teleporter, just a few of them. I want the teleporter, new teleporter code. So the only thing I'm not checking in are these debug changes. Yes, that's fine. Everything else is being checked in. That to do combine these calls together, I'm not sure about. Put a question mark on that. Okay. Just checking over my commit before I commit. It's really important to commit your code because it means it gives you a kind of a hard and fast undo point, as it were, so I can look at the code and make sure that I'm happy with it. No, 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 yes. Didn't want that extra white space. So, okay. I'll also make sure I don't check in any rubbish white space because that just makes your diffs harder to view and it's just worth doing. Okay, that's stuff I'm not checking in, right? Yeah, cool. Just a few debug tweaks to variables and things like that. Okay, so I am going to basic teleporting between jump gates. Okay, brilliant. Not bad for the first half an hour. So, what's next? We want to look at I guess we could look at transition. I'd really like to get the transition working in pretty soon. It's reasonably easy to do. I just need to think about it a bit. So for the transition, what I was thinking of doing is having a kind of, we don't have any particles back in the system yet, so I'm going to wait for the particles before doing anything else. So what I'm thinking of is having a new entity type which is transitioning, and it's a transient entity type, so it's the entity it's added, well, when something is transitioning, it depends what I want. What I'd like to happen with the jump gate is that there's a big effect. I'd like it to kind of have a massive kind of boom or something. So I want to push some sounds, and I want it to take maybe 3 or 4 seconds to happen, maybe a little bit of shaking, and some bright flashes, that kind of thing would be cool. So I need to think about how to do that. Okay, I want the engine particle effects in before I do that. Too much. Do I want them to kind of fade into the thing? Do I want them to kind of? I can never quite decide. Some sort of kind of relativity style effect. I don't want to stretch the sprites because I always think that looks a bit rubbish. So I'm not going to do that. But I'd kind of like to have the thing saturate out So I'd like to have the ship maybe slowly glow and take advantage of the bloom that we've got and kind of turn white. That would kind of be cool. And then have the have this. I've got this quite cool effect, which I'll just show you actually, which I quite like to introduce. So if I go down to here, we've got a nice overlay effect. So if I just kind of demonstrate this quickly. At the moment it's just a flat image, but I'd like to kind of use this with some kind of, maybe with a couple of sparkles or something. So here, this one here, is kind of a nice effect. So what I'd like to do is to basically kind of throw a few of those on and kind of make it spin around or something really fast. So it kind of calls for a particle system setup again, which I haven't done yet. I planned to put in new particle systems pretty soon. Oh, sorry, you can't see that, can you? That's what it looks like. Let's put it on full screen for a minute. So yeah, I kind of want that kind of effect to go in and work really well. I'm not sure exactly how to, I'm not sure yet how to apply that. I know roughly how I want it to work, but I don't know exactly. So really what I want to do is maybe use that as a particle effect, have the ship basically either go huge or go really small very fast with some nice sound effects. And that's not that hard to do. I just need to get it done. So the question is, what's the best way of doing that? Should I move on to the particle system at this point? Now it's kind of working before I do the transitions. Something tells me that that might be a smart move. I can't easily do these transitions without doing a decent particle system. I haven't quite decided how I want to do the particle system yet, so I may just leave it for the moment. So the slight issue that I've got here, okay, let's just turn the game off for a minute, so that hopefully this starts working again. When I run the game full screen in 1920, my computer goes, I can't stream at the same time. So that's probably why it just froze for you for a minute. Sorry about that. So what I'm thinking of doing here, let's put that back. I'm thinking about maybe looking at my list and seeing what's next. So the next thing is landing on planets. We could easily add that back in. That's definitely worth doing. And that would help me with my collision stuff as well, because because then that gives me a sense of how what I want to do with these teleporters. So we've got all that checked in, haven't we? Yes, that's fine. So really what I want to think about doing is yeah, I think I want to just have a look at some more stuff to do with colliders, and I'd like to do some more stuff to do with the kind of city and landing. I think that would be really good. So yeah, I think I'm definitely going to do that. So basically at the moment, when I load my jump gates, which I did this morning, we have this collidable thing, which allows you to head into your particular jump gate, which is fine, that's easy. When we load planets, which is up here, we don't have any collidable at the moment. And what I'm thinking of doing is I'm thinking of having it such that when you fly over a planet, you can see the cities that are on the planet. Yeah, I think this is definitely what I want to work on next. So let me demonstrate that. So let's just run the game quickly. So when you are on a particular planet, ooh, there we go, it's still running. Still looks a little bit too much, but let's head down to the planet. Should be down here somewhere. Should be the Earth. There it is. Cool. So what I want to happen is when you fly over the Earth, I want to be able to see a particular set of planets appear on the GUI. That's what I want to do, or cities, sorry. So you can see, for example, London appears, and Tokyo, which will appear on the horizon somewhere over here, and then I want to have Cape Town or whatever, New York, whatever, to appear on the planet in the right place. So that's what I think I'm going to work on next. So in order to do that, what I need to do is think about setting up a particular collider. So let's just leave that running there for a minute. Oh no, I can't do that, can I? Because otherwise I can't access the game. Right, so we have planets, we have colliders for the jump gates. Let me just add a collider here, which has the cities on it. So this is just the spatial, the squared radius is radius in meters times the spatial radius in meters, right? And the position is the same as the spatial one. Okay, so that's like a hotspot I've added. I will also want to add in hotspots for the particular cities, and they will be at different points based on the size of the planet. So I don't know quite how I want to do that yet, so let's do... But these are effectively landable entities. So the collide, so I'll have collidable for each city with a landable, which will allow landing. So it's not the same as a teleporter, it basically allows you to land at the planet. That's the idea. Okay, so at the city. Cool, that's easy enough. So the collidable for the planet, that will just work by adding that in, except that's obviously planet ID. And now the question is, how do I want to show that? I want to show it by adding some GUI to the planet. Or some GUI overlays, which I haven't actually done yet. Let's find our collidable stuff in the game CPP again. Here it is. So we've got the attempt. Right, so here, basically, if we have a teleporter, we do the transition, because we're doing an attempt to interact. If we are in a first collision, then we want to do something here. So I want to basically say, ooh, I have a city container, interesting. So what I could do is try and find the city container. This is good. So I could say city container equals city container raw. That just takes the state collider collidable entity ID. If I have a city container, so this won't work for the jump gate, and all of this logic is kind of in line at the moment. I'm aware that that's a terrible thing, but I can always clean it up later. So if I have a city container, then I need to show GUI for where the cities are on the planet. So each of these city containers, what's actually in one of these? A city count and a cities. So I should be able to... let's think about this. It'll vary depending on where the thing is. Now, I have a new GUI system. I can easily do a push panel here. I can have something like panel city planet, or panel HUD planet overlay. So that's probably what I want to do. And I want to say something like layout planet overlay. Now the interesting thing is that the place that this panel will be in will change each let's think about this. It will change because obviously the planet will change location, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay. So what I'm trying to do is add a bit of GUI to this thing. So let's lay out the planet overlay at this point with the city container. That's probably what I want to do. So basically what I'm doing here is saying if it's the first collision, then I want to lay out a new planet overlay. Now I've got a whole bunch of layout code here. So we can do layout, let's do it here. Layout 8 HUD planet overlay. I've never laid out an in-game GUI section yet, so this is the new GUI. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. We'll have to see. Oh, we don't really need the panel. We've just got the city container at the moment. Now the panel I can get from here. I will need a buffer. State graphics panels, panel HUD, panel overlay. Clear the panel. Oh, we probably do need the viewer ID. So who is the person we're looking at? This is just whatever the sim. Interesting. This is down to whether or not this only happens if the sim entity ID we're looking at is the same as the state player or the camera. No, it's the state player entity ID. Right, we only want to see GUI if we're actually the person playing the game. Otherwise, ships could fly across it and you'd see the GUI, and that would be wrong. If the ship is being flown by the player. Oh no, hang on, it's not going to be that. Oh, that's wrong. The entity ID is the ship, not the player. I think this is going to be a to-do. I think this is going to be a to-do. Yeah, I think it's going to be a to-do. We don't have any way of knowing whether or not this is the player yet that we're looking at. So we might need to think about how that works. Yeah, we need to think about that anyway, so that's fine. Okay, so now we've got clear panel. The panel dimensions are going to be the full screen. No, it's going to be full screen, please. We don't want a background. What we do want to do is we want to loop through all the cities. Equals city container cities. Let's have a look at this thing. What is this thing? A city count. Oh, that should be 0, obviously. Okay, so we're going to loop through all the cities, and then we're going to say UN32 city ID equals city container cities, city index. So now we have the ID, so we can easily grab the city name buffer from something like this. And I could do something like, to start with, I could just push a box, push text. Right, so we've got the state. We'll need the state graphics at least. Let's just pass the state into this thing. Or let's start with the graphics. Oh no, we need the state anyway for the identifiable. Okay, we don't need the display string. We need the city name buffer. So what I'm doing here is just printing the name of the city onto the GUI. That's what I'm attempting to do anyway. And then we can just say 30, 540 plus, well, I'll just start with city index times 100. Just show a list of them. Top left, let's show it in white. Let's make it nice and big so we can see it, and let's make it bold. What that should do is when you mouse over this thing, it should show a list of the city names on the top left. Huh. Whether it actually works or not, who knows, but we'll find out. Right, okay, so a couple things here. We need to define the panel HUD panel overlay. Easy enough to do. Yeah, just missing a semicolon. No matching method. That's because we need to pass in the state. We also need to pass in the viewer ID, which is the state player entity ID. Slightly worried about this, but I'm going to have to try and fix that later. Okay, right, that works. So in theory, when I move over a planet, oh, fail. Push panel. Simulate region 4. Oh, interesting. Why do we have a city container? What's the first collision? This does not seem right. Okay. City container. Apparently we're over Earth. Since when were we over Earth? So, okay, so which things are colliding? So we have our collider, which has a collidable in it. So at the end, so the Earth is colliding with whatever the sim entity ID is. 11. Is that the collider colliding with... What's 11? I don't know is the answer. It's not clear. I need a proper entity viewer and I don't have one. Visible size in meters 100. Is that the jump gate? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. Well, at the moment, the only way of finding out which entity is which is to go in here and say if state entity count equals 11, debug. It's a bit rubbish, but it works. Okay, right at the very bottom here. No, not at the bottom, somewhere in here. Not in use state? Oh no, use state H. There it is. Right, what is 11? And why is it colliding? Click that. Right. Hang on. That never fired. Why didn't that fire? That's annoying. Let's try again. Okay, so that's the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. I see it. It's the first jump gate. Why is it colliding with the first jump gate? We are nowhere near the first jump gate. That I do not understand. Why? Why? Okay, well, let's just go over this to start with. So for some reason, we've tracked a collision between the planet and the jump gate, which makes no sense. What have I done? No member name collide, yes, collidable entity ID. Reloaded code, oh, I just added something by mistake, that's fine. Keyboard splurge, right. Why is that not working? No, I don't need that anymore. Right. So it's trying to push a panel. That's already been pushed, interestingly. So it's happened twice already. Yeah, this is not good because it looks like for some reason these two things are colliding and they shouldn't be. Why is they're nowhere near each other? That's what I don't understand. So if we go for the collider rel p, which is minus 7999999, so it's right over there in meters, 800 meters away. Ah, but the radius in meters is huge. Yeah, that's a problem. So what's going on is that the squared grid, yeah, this is bad. What's happening is that the collision size is being taken from the actual planet size, which is terrible because it's just the wrong size. Yeah, what I think I need to do, yeah, so it's basically colliding with everything, which is not what I want. It's to do with the space planes thing. And I think I need to actually change the radius in meters here. This radius in meters here, I think this might need to be multiplied by the plane scale before we do anything. So this plane scale basically just decides, where do we actually use this thing? This plane scale basically decides how big the thing is, what scale we're at, and I think I need to be able to do this, where I say plane scale, plane planet, because I don't think we use the plane anywhere else. I don't think we actually care about it anymore. Plane scale, yeah. And actually, if I then go into the spatial and remove the plane, because I never really like that anyway. I don't use it in a few places, but I don't think I care because it's only used for scale. I don't care there. I don't care there. Great. That's perfect. So now it should all look the same as it did before, hopefully. Yeah, that's fine. So we don't need to worry about it. So now, if I head to the planet, I should start getting some GUI. Hooray! It worked. Brilliant. So, great. Now I might need to formalize some of this a bit now because we've got this idea of inside the game. We've got the city container stuff. Obviously I don't want it to be bold. And we lay that out, but then when we remove the collision, we also want to do this basically. Otherwise this is just going to be a nightmare. We want to actually, at this point, pop the panel. Yeah, I need to think about the code first. Let's get the code down first and then we'll figure out what we want to do. That just needs to be that. Right, so now, if I just head to, let's just comment that out so I go back to the planet and head to debug. Oh no, it's not showing it at all. But it was working so well. First collision. Why is that not working? It was working. Oh, hang on, it's because it does it every time. Right, so again, we're going to need to formalize this. Whoop, there we go. Right here. Remove collision. We're going to need to decide whether or not it was removed, it was a first remove or not, if that makes sense. So we're going to need to say found equals true, and then we can say, at this point we can say break, because we won't have two of them, and then we can do return found. So if it was the first time that we left the collision, then this should work. Yeah, so now that should now vanish in just a minute. There it goes. It should come back. Yes, it does. Brilliant. Fantastic. It's just what I want to happen. Fantastic. Okay, great. Okay. Now what I need to do is figure out where on the planet these things are, which is a whole nother thing. So what I kind of want to do is, what I really want to do is actually take the latitude and longitude of those particular things and calculate where on the planet's surface I should be showing those things. But I can do that. I can kind of do that in a minute. Kind of the first thing I want to do, or I could just say land at. We could have another panel. That's a bit of a cheat. I kind of want to be able to fly over the particular thing on the planet. I think that's quite nice. And land on it, have it show. I think that would be quite cool. I don't think it's that hard to do. So I think I might do that. I'll just get rid of that bolt because it didn't quite look right. Okay. So let's think about this. What's the first thing to do? I could just show a list of buttons. It says land at London, land at blah, land at blah. Yeah, it's just a bit ugly, isn't it? Or I could just show a nice header saying you arrived, welcome to Earth, or something. And then it shows you the different, yeah, I mean, see, I might do that rather than worrying about, yeah, you see, that might actually work quite well. Okay, so let's start with prototyping this a little bit. So I'm going to put this over here and just make it smaller a bit. Hopefully you can still see the text. And then I'm going to try a couple of things here. Yeah, I'm going to try a few things. Right, instead of having London, Coco, Cape Town there, first things first, I want to go to reloaded. If I reload the code, I want to not lay out that, I want to lay out HUD. But which one? Which one? Let's just do this. Yeah, so now hopefully if that passes, it should relay out the code. It takes a little while to compile when, yeah, perfect. And I also have a divider there, excellent. Okay, so all I've done is kind of frigged in a little GUI update thing. So in the same way, I can now do something like 455, and this is going to be, we're in the middle of the panel. So we need to do 1920 divided by 2, which is 960. And then you'll probably see what I'm doing here in a minute. I'm going to pop these outside the list, just popping together a little panel here, which is going to look fantastic, hopefully. And then I can say here, dim v2, 960, 405, and then this is going to be, doesn't really matter, 540, and then I want this to be centered. I want it to be 40, and I want to say something like, and I'll obviously read this out in a minute, welcome to Earth. Something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, got an error. What's wrong with that? Oh yeah, we probably have had the right number of brackets. Let's see if that's going to work. Yay, that's kind of what I'm going for. Obviously with a background, which we can do in a minute. And then what I could do is push a standard button here along the lines of standard buttons are a bit crap though, aren't they? Well, that should be alright. Let's see. Delete to string, and again, and I can say city name buffer. Let's try that. Wow, it's slow to compile when the game's running. Right, push standard button. Yeah, let's have a look at what does the standard button actually do. Okay, panel graphics, center, anchor, buffer, events. Yeah, it should be right. Yeah, and then the only thing we need to do is just move those into the right spot. So I should be able to say something like, because these will just work. Yeah. So where do I want these to be centered? A little bit lower than those, so it'll be 505, and then they need to be, oh, I don't know, 960. I wonder if I implemented center here. Let's see if that works. I did do top center, but they'll all be in the same place, which isn't quite what I want. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Top left is fine. And then basically they need to be in 505, something like 960, but it won't quite be 960. It'll depend on how many buttons there are, plus depends how big they are. How big are these buttons? They are 200 wide, so I want 220 times city index as a starting point. That will not look right, but it'll be something. Yes, that's the rough idea. Now, depending on how many buttons, I want to take off a bunch from that. So start will be x will be 960. This is a real 32. Minus city container city count. Now, if there's one, it'll be probably 110 times that. That's probably right. Let's see, is that right? Did I get that right? Oh, it would help if I actually used it. Let's try that. Yeah, that's not quite right. Feels like that's right in the center. So it's basically another 110 off. No, it's 110 more than that. Yes, that's right. And it's also right in the middle of the screen, which is not what I want. And that's going to break. I've just broken the game, probably. Oh, I made that generate a history. That's not what I wanted to do, because that's crazy, yeah. Yeah, that's not what I was expecting it to have to do. Just generated 200 years of history when I clicked that. Okay, so hopefully you can see what I've done. I'm actually thinking that this needs to be another... a little bit further down. Same here. Yeah. Let's run it again. So I'm kind of creating like a little overlay like that. Yeah, that's quite good. I kind of want it to be in the bottom, actually, I think. I've changed my mind about that. I think I want this to be bottom left aligned. That one as well. Which means that it's quite easy to calculate these numbers. That will end up being probably 155. And this number will be 255. And this number will be 205. And this number will be 55? 105? 105. Let's try that. Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go in a minute because I need to pick up my children from school. But it's been a pleasure streaming with you today. Hopefully I haven't completely screwed that up. Yeah, there we go. So I quite like that. I'm going to need some kind of... none of these do anything yet. I'm going to need to do something about this to kind of make it look a bit neater and nicer. Maybe put some sort of background behind it. But that is definitely quite nice and I think what I'm going for. So let me just... the only other thing I wanted to do was just to... that should be 960. Whoops. Minus 120 to city count, minus 1. That's more like it. And this should be 240. A bit more padding between the buttons. Yeah, so hopefully you can see what I'm going for there. Instead of doing kind of some weird overlay thing, I'm kind of just adding some buttons for landing. So you can choose where you land. That will be quite nice. There we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Yeah, that's quite nice. I quite like that. And that vanishes when you leave. It'll probably fade out and fade in. I think that's probably what we want to do next. But as I say, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that for today. It's looking pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching today, and I will see you hopefully very soon. I'm not live streaming next week. I'm away next week. But I should be live streaming the week after that, and hopefully you'll still see some big progress. Thanks very much for watching. As always, you can follow my stream if you're enjoying watching the stream. Please do follow along. If you're watching the YouTube, please do subscribe or subscribe to the mailing list. That's how you can make sure you get all the latest updates, and you can do that from the new website at soultrader.net. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see